Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I am back with another crochet and chat. This is episode 2 of this series where I just kind of sit down and just chat about some sort of topic while I crochet. So today I am crocheting another baby blanket. This is baby blanket number 2. So if you watched my other crochet and chat, I was also crocheting one of these blankets and I have to make 2 of them. I finished the first one and we're on to the second one now. So I'm going to be working on this as we chat and doing my best to multitask here and talk while also trying to be somewhat productive with my crocheting. So if you're new to my channel, my name is Emily and I am 24 years old, about to be 25, which is what this video is about. I'm a physical therapist, full-time physical therapist, and then I crochet for fun on the side. Basically, I'm turning 25 this month, on July 22nd to be specific, and I don't know what it is about turning 25, but I feel different about it. I don't know why, but I just feel some sort of way about it. I know it's just another day, but something about like hitting that mid-20s feels like really reflective. I don't know how else to put it besides that. I made a couple talking points for today's video just to keep me on track, because if you don't know me, I get sidetracked very easily, which I probably still will, but I at least have these talking points to go back to kind of get me back on course here. So the first thing I kind of want to talk about is just the idea of societal pressures, and then also probably partly pressures that I put on myself in a way. I'm already running into an issue with my yarn. What is going on? That's very weird. It came unspun. It's like an actual flaw with the yarn. There's all this messaging, I feel like, in society about what our life is supposed to look like when we're in our mid-20s, like whether it's like career related goals, owning a house, relationships, starting a family, like I don't know, all these different like societal type things, and some of these might even be like personal type things, not from society, that I feel like are just not realistic, especially in like times right now, and especially with like where I am personally. I just don't feel like they're realistic. So I have like this weird reason to reflect on like my current progress on where I am in life, and I'm honestly being a little bit like self-critical about where I am in life, because I don't know, I imagine I would be somewhere else right now, which I think I'll dig into that a little bit later, because I have another talking point about my thoughts when I was younger versus what actually is happening. I honestly feel like social media plays a lot into this as well, because it's so hard not to compare yourself to people online, especially when people put their perfect image online and they make it look like they have everything together, and then you like reflect on your current situation and you're like, oh, I don't have it all together, or like I am not where they are in my current life. So that definitely makes it harder when you see like all these people and like all the things they've accomplished by their mid-20s. I don't know. Social media can be a very beneficial thing and then a very negative thing, depending on how you use it and your habits with it and things like that. But I do think it's important to mention here, because we love to compare. I feel like we love to compare ourselves with other people on social media. And first of all, half of the things you see are fake. Second of all, everybody's journey is different, so it's not good to compare yourself to that perfect picture that someone else put on the internet. Part of this reflecting has to do with me kind of thinking back to what my younger self thought, and where I am right now is definitely not where my younger self thought I would be, which is not necessarily a bad thing. I've learned so much about myself and learned so much about what I want, and I'm still learning about what I want in a way. Definitely still learning about how to take care of myself, and like to take care of myself in ways that I didn't quite understand or know before that I know now. And again, I'm still learning and growing. We're ever evolving beings, like we should continue to evolve. If we're not evolving, then like what are we doing? You know, I can't speak for everyone, but I feel like when people think about like achievements and goals, they think of these like big, grand things like, I don't know, buying a house or getting out of debt. I don't know, like these big like objective type things. But I feel like some of the best achievements, especially around this age, are more about mental well-being and like personal growth and things like that. Like I feel like there's a lot to say of just better understanding yourself and learning your flaws and learning your struggles and how you can properly care for yourself and properly overcome these flaws and struggles and things like that. I hope that's making sense. Like, not necessarily just looking at like, oh, like I achieved this big goal, but like, oh, how about the fact that I grew so much as a person and learned so much about myself, and maybe this is part of like the frontal lobe developing. Like I don't know. And something that's definitely played a role in how I'm navigating my life currently in my mid-20s is the fact that I am neurodivergent. And I think also like learning that I am neurodivergent in my early 20s and spending these last like 4 years or so learning about how my brain works and things like that has been a big part of my growth and reflection and just how much I've changed over these years. And it's not necessarily like anything crazy changed. Like, yes, I now have a diagnosis. Sorry, I'm struggling with this end stitch. I now have a diagnosis of autism, and I most likely have undiagnosed ADHD. If you don't already know that about me, I haven't been officially assessed. I probably should be, but I mean, most likely have ADHD as well. These end stitches drive me nuts. Come on, there we go. I have to switch colors, so I'm gonna try to talk while I switch colors, but I feel like I'm slouching down in my chair. Oh, I just hit my chin off the desk. Okay, next color is this pale periwinkle color. I think that's what it's called, right? Yes. Pale periwinkle. This will be the color I'm changing to next. I shared in my last video about how I am autistic and then also most likely have undiagnosed ADHD. So if you are interested in hearing more like about that specific episode was kind of about focusing more on like burnout and like living with a neurodivergent brain and things like that. Things to consider with that. So if you're interested in hearing about that, you can check out that video. But that definitely plays a role. Definitely has a factor for sure. And I feel like living with a neurodivergent brain and being neurodivergent, it adds a whole extra like multi-layer, I don't want to say struggle, but like difficulty in the whole figuring out adulthood and transitioning to adulthood. And I would love to do a whole episode about this. And I think this is a more common occurrence than many people realize. And I know I didn't come up with this thought on my own. I'm pretty sure maybe my therapist might have brought it up to me about the transition from childhood to adulthood, or I heard it from somebody else on social media. So do not think that this is a original thought. I feel like nobody has an original thought these days. Like somebody else has thought of it, you know? But I think it's a more common experience than people think. So it would be interesting to talk about it and kind of bring awareness to the idea of it, because I feel like maybe there's less conscious awareness of the issue. So that could be a whole nother episode in itself. But in these last, honestly, like in the last like year, I feel like I've made the most growth, but I've really had to like learn better how my system functions and learn about setting boundaries and ways of preventing burnout. And I'm still trying to figure this out. I do not have it all figured out. So don't let me fool you and think that I have it all figured out. I don't. I really do not. But also a part of it is learning to like be okay with not having maybe the same expectations for myself that other people have for themselves. This is also something I have not honestly mastered. I can be aware of the issue, but I can't actively put it into practice, if that makes sense. I'm too much of a perfectionist. I continue to put myself at standards of a neurotypical brain, and I don't have a neurotypical brain. So that's something I'm still actively working on, but it's definitely something I'm more aware of, like trying to break that toxic productivity and remind myself that self-care is productive, resting is productive and is necessary, and is even more necessary when you have a neurodivergent brain. But also, I don't like to use this as, I don't like the word excuse, but I don't like to use it necessarily as an excuse. Like, obviously I have to learn methods and techniques and strategies to overcome struggles and things like that, but sometimes I feel like I don't give myself enough grace. So that's something I'm still working on, and I think I've been doing a lot better now that I have a understanding with having a diagnosis. Now that I have an understanding of my brain is not like everybody else's. This has been a huge part of my growth, just accepting that my nervous system works and functions differently, that my brain functions differently, and that I have different needs and struggles than other people. And also that this is okay. That is something I have to remind myself. It is okay that my brain doesn't function the same as everybody else's. The next thing I'd like to go into is kind of talking about like this false sense of reality that I had as a child. And I think a lot of people, maybe not a lot of people, I don't know, I can't speak for everybody, but the people around me were all kind of planning what they wanted their future to look like. And this kind of was like, okay, like being married or having kids, and how many kids, and what kind of house, and what kind of job, and what kind of car, and like things like very simple like that. Like, imagine the game MASH, is that what it's called? Yeah, those were, that's kind of like the, what's the word? The depth that I was going into of what I wanted my life to look like, I guess. It wasn't like it was super planned out, but it was those like foundational type things that I thought I had all planned out. And I had this like sense that I was gonna have like 800 kids. That's being dramatic, but I wanted to have a lot of kids, and I thought I would start having kids like pretty young. Like, I thought I would at least have one kid by 22, but I literally just graduated school a year ago. I'm just getting my like bearings in my full-time job now that I've been in it for a year. And I'm not in any, I think I'm in a spot like mentally. I'm not in a spot financially or like foundationally, if that makes sense. Like, preferably I would like to be married. I would like to have a place and be living with my partner, who I would hopefully be married to, you know what I mean? Before bringing a child into the world. I'd like them to have a very stable area to come into. I know that doesn't always happen, and I know that like if I were to have a kid right now, which I'm not planning on it, but if I were to, then it wouldn't be like the end of the world. I would make it work, but there's no rush to get there. So that is definitely one thing that I've been reflecting on a lot, and that I don't want to say it's been weighing heavy on my heart, but I've definitely had more of a, like, I don't think calling is the right word, but like more of a push to feel this, like, I don't know if it's like a biological, natural feeling to want to bring a life into the world and like start a family and things like that. And so many things have happened since this little Emily, when she was younger, was hoping to have all these kids with her husband. So many things have happened during that time that have changed my outlook on the future. My outlook on the future has changed multiple times. I've gone from that outlook to maybe I'll just be alone and adopt kids. Maybe I'll just be alone and have no kids. Like, my perspective has changed a lot because of my experiences that I've gone through. And I'm so glad that a few years ago it hit me that, hey, I would like to work through whatever is going on inside of me internally that is making me feel this way, because I started to have a longing for actually wanting to have a lifelong partner and building a family and a life with them. And that is something that, funny enough, not funny, that's probably not the right word, but it started to hit me after my grandfather passed away. And this is interesting to me because I think it came down to me reflecting on his relationship with my grandmother, which she passed when I was young, but the amount of love that he had for her and the love of their relationship just like opened up that idea of being able to be a part of something like that one day. I'm kind of talking around the specifics here because there was obviously things I went through in life that changed my perspective on relationships and the drive to want to even be married or be with anybody or start a family with anybody. But there's certain things that I just feel like don't need to be said on the internet, and maybe my perspective on this will change one day, but for now I'm just going to talk around it and it's not going to be said. So basically, my whole point of bringing this up is that my perspective has changed a lot, and at this point in my life I'm in a very happy and healthy relationship, and I'm excited to see what future we're gonna have together. And it's just making me reflect on, just funny how like this has changed so much over time. But instead of sitting here and harping on how I didn't meet the goals of what, like, probably, I don't know, how old was I? 6-year-old, 7, 8, 9, 10? I don't freaking know. But that little Emily had these crazy ambitions, whatever. I would like to take some time to reflect on the things that I have achieved at this point in my life, because I think this is important for me to remind myself, and this is going to be a good, like, exercise in itself of thinking of the things that I've achieved. I made a list of a couple of them, but I'm hoping that I kind of think of more as I go along here, because it's good to kind of think of the positives, and sometimes it's hard to do that. So starting off with the first thing that I have accomplished is that I have learned so much about myself, and I know I kind of already talked about that in depth, so I don't really need to go into it more, but I have grown so much as a person, learned so much about myself. I feel like a completely different person than I was like 6 years ago. Honestly, I even feel like even not a completely different person from a year ago, but I felt like I've continued to develop myself even further. And another thing that, like, I would count it as a whole separate thing is just that I've started to prioritize my mental health a lot more, and this goes into that first goal of like learning so much about myself. But I've started to prioritize my mental health. I'm taking control of things that have happened to me and working through them and not letting them dictate my whole entire life. And I'm living my life happily, which is a great accomplishment. Another thing that I've accomplished is building my love for crochet more, creating, yes, I've had a YouTube channel for a while, like my other channel, but creating this YouTube channel and developing this and growing it and creating myself a little crafty space to create in, that is something I've achieved and that I'm very proud of, and just glad that I finally did it, because I love this little community that we're building on here. Even though we are small, we are mighty, and I don't know, I just feel like there's a lot of positivity. I'm blabbing too much, so it just cut me off. But yes, once in a while, what I was saying was, once in a while you get those negative people in the comments, but there's so many positives that it kind of outweighs those, and some people are just having a bad day, you know, so they have to comment something negative. But I love the community that we're building here. Another goal that I just thought of that's a little bit more, I guess, objective that I achieved is that I've been focusing a lot on my finances and getting myself in a better situation, because I did graduate about a year ago, just over a year ago now. I went to school to be a physical therapist, so I went to undergrad. I did a 3+3 program, so I went to undergrad for 3 years and then grad school for 3 years to get my doctorate of physical therapy, and that comes with a lot of student loan debt. So I've been working through that, and I'm happy to say that I paid off one of my private student loans, a whole loan that I paid off. So that is a very good accomplishment, and I'm just now starting through another one. I was in a very fortunate situation where I was living basically bill free for the most part. Like, I really didn't have much expenses, so I was putting as much money as possible, like a lot of money, to this loan to get it paid off. Obviously I'm not in that obviously I'm not in this super fortunate situation anymore. I have rent now and bills and things like that, but I am still really trying to focus on paying down my other private student loan. So that is something I am proud of, that I've accomplished, honestly, like in the last year or two. And I think that is something to make sure that I recognize and remember, because again, it's always good to point out the positives instead of dwelling on the things that you haven't achieved yet. I think the last thing I'll mention as kind of an achievement that I have made is just the fact that I am still here, I continue to show up for myself, and I am still working a full-time job. Like I'm still out here surviving. And I think that's something in itself to be proud of. And some people might think that's a little accomplishment, but I think that's a great accomplishment. And the fact that I'm still like showing up for myself and taking care of myself to the best of my ability and trying my best to learn ways to balance everything, and I haven't given up completely, is a good accomplishment. I feel like birthdays can be a hard time for people too, and there's some people that really just don't like their birthday, or that comes down to having a lot of bad experiences with their birthday. I feel like I don't necessarily have too bad of experiences with my birthday. I think for the most part I've been pretty grateful to have spent my birthday with family and sometimes friends, and I think I've mostly had pretty good birthdays. And that's something I'm grateful for, because I am aware that not everybody has that privilege to enjoy their birthdays and be made to feel special on them. And that's kind of a moment I'm just kind of reflecting on now and being like, oh wow, that's pretty awesome, and I'm privileged to be able to have that. I could take time and like reflect on birthdays in the past, but I just kind of want to summarize it and just say that I've had a lot of good birthdays. I don't want to sit here and like sound like I'm bragging about like things I've done, or I don't know, I just for some reason am feeling like I'm considering the perspective of other people watching, and I don't know if it would make other people upset or come off like rude. So I'm just gonna leave it at that. I've had great birthday experiences, I think, for the most part. Maybe if I really thought back, and maybe I'm just like blocking out the bad ones, but I feel like they've been pretty good. Anyways, moving on from that little side tangent, because I feel like that was just kind of like a random tangent. I don't know. I'd like to kind of switch gears to things I want to continue to focus on, or I guess maybe some more goals that I have coming up in my mid-20s. I keep saying that, mid-20s. This feels like a new chapter starting or something. I don't know. But in this next chapter of my life, I would like to continue to focus on taking care of myself and also just doing things as they feel right, instead of putting unrealistic expectations on myself or letting social things dictate what choices I make. Like, I want to do what feels right for me and the people that I care about, and not necessarily what outside factors make me feel I should do, if that makes sense. Another more objective goal is that I would love to pay off my other private student loan, so that all I have left is my federal loans. I actually have a goal set to try to pay this off by the time my boyfriend graduates from physical therapy school, which will be May of 2026. I did the math and I'm pretty sure it is impossible unless something great happens, or if my side income picks up. It's going to be pretty tough, but I think I could achieve it maybe by July of 2026, like by my 26th birthday. But that's one goal that I would like to achieve, just because I want to do my part, since I am a little bit further into my career, not by much, but my boyfriend's still in school, so I'm a little bit ahead. So I'm taking this time to really put in my side of the effort right now to try to pay down some of my loans, so that if and when, hopefully when, we combine things, that it's a little bit better than if I sat around and just spent all my money instead of being financially smart and paying down some of my debt. I'm trying to think of any other goals that I have for this next chapter of my life. I get so caught up in feeling like I need to have like a 5-year plan, a 3-year plan, like having like things planned out, and that's just part of like my personality and brain and everything. I like to plan things, but not everything goes to plan, obviously. I think it might be more interesting to make like predictions for 5 years where I think I might be. And then I can look back on it in 5 years and be like, you were way off. But predictions for what my life will look like in 5 years. Okay, let me think about this. This is a sidetrack thought, so let's go back to my talking points here. Let's finish going over my goals and then we can do the daydreaming of what my life might look like in 5 years. Another goal that I have is to continue to express my creativity through crochet and maybe other crafts, who knows, but I want to continue to express myself in this way. I want to continue to create content on here. I love making stuff on here and I want to continue to grow this. And yes, I know this is just kind of like a side hobby thing, but it would be nice if I could grow it to a point where I was making a little bit of income that at least supplemented the expenses that I might put into this or helped me reach some of my financial goals, things like that. And that's just like the real honest truth. Like obviously I'm doing this because it's fun, but I wouldn't be upset if I could make it a little bit of like a side hustle type thing where I was bringing in some income from it. And especially because I have so much fun doing it. So goals to keep creating and keep being consistent on here because it's just so much fun. And I think if I'm consistent, it will continue to grow. And I feel like that's a good time to take a moment to tell you guys to hit the subscribe button if you want to continue to see content from me, if you want to join this little crochet family community. It doesn't even have to just be crochet, this little craft community here. And also, I appreciate everybody who even just clicks on the video. Maybe you don't even subscribe, maybe you don't really interact with the videos, but I still appreciate you for being here and giving me a little bit of your time and hanging out with me while I just word vomit and crochet at the same time. I always struggle on these corners. Another kind of more broad goal is just that I want to continue to figure out how to actually give myself that grace and be okay with the fact that my brain works differently. Like I'm accepting obviously that it works differently, but I'm not 100% giving myself the grace that should come with that, and I'm still putting those unrealistic expectations on myself. So that's another goal I have, is I just want to continue to work on that. And obviously I'm in therapy. These are things that I am continuing to work on, but I'm making progress. Like there are times where I'm setting boundaries and I'm speaking up and I'm doing things on my part to try to get better at this, but I still feel like I could get a little bit better, and I still catch myself having those perfectionist type thoughts and things like that and expectations. So that's another big one that I would like to work on. Okay, so now back to the fun part that I got sidetracked thinking of earlier, but let's go into my 5-year like predictions of what I think my life's gonna look like. So 5 years from now, I'll be about to turn 30. I think by then I will be married to my current partner, and I think that we'll definitely live together. I don't think we'll have bought a house by now. That'd be awesome, but I don't think we will by then. That's very difficult to do. So I don't think we will have bought a house yet. Probably renting some sort of house or something. And I think we will have 1 kid, potentially 2, or maybe at least trying or expecting the 2nd. That's my predictions. I could be way off, but maybe that's more like my hope. But I think that's where in the next 5 year, or like in 5 years, that's where I'll be. Also, let's see, 5 years from now, let's think like financially. Like I said, I don't think we'll be owning a house, but I think that we'll have a pretty good handle on our debts. Not everything, because there's gonna be certain things like part of our loans that like interest rates aren't too bad on a couple. So I know this is getting into too much detail, I'm sorry, but I'm just thinking like through logically. Some I'll probably push out to like the full 10 years. So it won't be fully paid off, but I think it'll be down a lot to the point where it doesn't feel so scary and we won't be in a negative net worth. That's my hope, at least. And thinking about future goals at that point, like we'll probably be saving for a house if we hadn't got one yet, which I feel like we wouldn't have. Those are my predictions. Come back in 5 years and probably won't be correct. I guess I should make some, I didn't focus on like career at all, but I don't know what my career will look like in 5 years. I don't even know if I can make a prediction. Maybe I'll be doing exactly what I'm doing now. Maybe I'll be still working full-time but somewhere else. Maybe I'll be working part-time. Maybe I will completely change my whole life. Like, I don't know. Maybe I'll be a stay-at-home mom. Who knows? I have no prediction. That part I'm keeping pretty open because I just don't know what my life will look like. It all depends on mental well-being with work and work-life balance and things like that. But thank you for hanging out with me while I worked on crocheting this blanket and just chatting about birthday reflection thoughts on turning 25. I think I got 2 rows and then I started this other row while we were crocheting, which honestly isn't that good, but when I'm distracted and like talking and stuff, obviously I'm not crocheting my normal speed. But here's the current progress on my blanket. If you are around my age or like remember how it felt around this age and have any like reflecting thoughts or any comments, please leave them down below. If you have any things you want to share about different memories with birthdays, good or bad, you can share those down in the comments below as well. But thank you for being here. If you did enjoy this video, make sure you give it a thumbs up. I want to continue this series, so please leave me recommendations if you have any. If not, I'll just kind of keep doing whatever comes to my mind or whatever topics I feel like talking about, but I will take recommendations because if you guys want to hear specific things, I'll do my best to make an episode about them. Anyways, if you guys do decide to stick around and subscribe, then I'll see you in my next video. Bye!